Hey everybody, I'm Greg Sowell and welcome to another CIQ demo. Today we're going to be talking about using automation in multi-vendor networks. So I've got a network in my environment here where I've got a couple of different vendors. So I've got a Cisco Nexus switch and an Arista EOS switch, and I want to be able to manage those via automation. So why is that important? Well, one is a lot of times there are proprietary tools, right, created by the vendors, they only work with their stuff, and oftentimes even within that little window, they only work with a certain amount of stuff. And guess what? They really love deprecating which pieces of hardware that they work with inside that software, right? Imagine a hardware vendor encouraging you to buy new hardware. Seems crazy. Well, if you want to be able to manage all that stuff kind of in an automated fashion, you have to use a different tool, and my tool of choice would be Ascender, right? I love using Ansible for automating my networking stuff, and it does a great job in here. It also makes it really easy. So whenever you're transitioning your network engineers to automation, give them some tools, some GUI tools where they can click around and make life a little bit simpler. So first I'm going to show you how we do that inside the interface. First, this is Ascender, right? So this is kind of an AWX derivative that gives you all the really cool enterprise class tools you're looking for, but in a multi-vendor network. Let's cut to the chase. Let's talk about exactly what I'm looking for. I have an inventory. An inventory is a big list of all the things I could potentially operate against and in my environment. On my menu, because I like to think of it as like a menu when I go to a Chinese food restaurant. I always say that because there are a billion things on that menu, right? And so there's technically a whole lot of hosts that live inside my inventory I could operate against. Well, in my playbook, I'm going to specify which specific ones I want to work against. So in here, I've got multi-vendor. You can see I have my Arista stuff. I've got some Nexus kit in here. And you can also see that they are related to various different groups, right? So I have my Arista stuff in the Arista group. I have my Nexus stuff in the Nexus group, and then also have these in a multi-vendor group for my multi-vendor demo. So I'm really just calling the multi-vendor stuff. What I like about using groups is in each group, I can put variables that are specific to said device, right? So in the Nexus stuff, I can put the Nexus connection information in there, as well as in the Arista stuff, I can just put it inside that group, right? So you add those members to that group, they're going to inherit all that stuff. Bob's your uncle, we're ready to connect to that equipment. Now I also have projects, so that's going to be my Git repository that holds my playbooks. And by the way, mine is in a public Git repository, so you can have access to all of this stuff. You can take a look at my playbooks, dissect them, make fun of me for my misspellings, as well as give me tips and tricks on how I could have done this stuff right. No, it's there and available. Every playbook I ever write, I put in public so that you can dissect and potentially use for yourself. Credentials, how do I log into this stuff? It's actually securely maintained in here. Makes it really simple. I can do secrets engines as well. I can also integrate our system with TACAX or Radius for you networking folks to make it simple. Well, over in the template section is where we bring it all home. We bring it all together, and I'm going to look for my multi-vendor playbook right here. You can see it, multi-vendor SNMP configuration. If I go into this job template, you can see all the various elements. I'm going to click edit because it's a little bit easier for me to view. Here's my inventory. Remember my big list of all my stuff. Here's my Git repository with my playbooks right here. I picked my playbook and then I specified my credentials, and now I'm ready to launch that piece of automation. So my piece of automation is actually really only running against 2 devices, but keep in mind this could be running against 1,000 devices, right? And you could have lots of different types of devices in there. So let me give you just a quick peek at the playbook to show you under the hood how I'm doing all of this. So in here, this is a simple playbook that will connect and manage the SNMP configurations on hundreds or thousands of hosts, or just 2 like I have in my environment as well right here. So something interesting that I'm doing is you can see the config communities variable right there. I'm actually setting up what the communities are going to be put on these 2 various devices, and that looks nothing like the format that you would expect like in the CLI of a Nexus device or an EOS device. That's the cool part about this, is that this same set of information could be utilized on Junos, right, which looks even more different, or Microtech like on the router OS stuff. So really I can just keep a data model here, and one says public, one says private. I could also set like the read-only or read-write settings there as well if I wanted to, but really I could just keep that in a data model, and then I can later on apply that in various different ways. So it doesn't have to be something complex. Somebody who's unrelated to networking at all can actually come in here and make little simple changes, and then you can easily push those into your environment. Well, down here at the bottom, you can see I have 2 tasks that I'm checking for. What's the network OS type? Now, when I'm going to connect to a various network element, I have to ask it, or rather I have to inform it what language it speaks, right? Is it French? Is it Spanish? Is it Portuguese? Whatever it happens to be, I'm dictating that in the group section. Remember, I was telling it was NXOS or it's EOS. So the system already knows inherently based on the inventory what this device is. So down here in the task level, you can see I have one that says, hey, is this NXOS, or hey, is this EOS? And it will call the appropriate module, grab that data model that we had up there, right? My public and private communities, and it's going to push it to the device. So it really does all the logic for me. All I have to know is how to click the launch button. Now I'm going to jump back over to the playbook, or rather Ascender, and we can take a look at the output from the playbook. As you can see here, it ran through. I can see on the Nexus one, right, where it says Nexus devices, you could see the Nexus 9K1. That's actually the host name of the device. You can see it had a change condition there. The Arista one, it showed skipping because guess what? It's not a Nexus device, so it went ahead and skipped it in the list. And the next one, the Arista, it went in there and made the change. Pretty straightforward, pretty simple, right? Really easy information to look at. Now, keep in mind that all this is clickable as well, right? So I can come back in time. By default, 90 days, I can see all these job runs, and I can click on them, and I can expand that information. I can see everything that was done to the device, right? Here's what the state it looked like before. Here are the commands I'm throwing in there. So I can really get down and dirty into the details of what happened inside my automations whenever I want. So keep in mind, this is extremely useful for not only multi-vendor and maintaining all of your devices, but also compliance, right? If you have somebody that's going to come in and audit you, you can show the detailed output of all of this information. You can send all that stuff off to a logging server like Ledger Pro. So if you haven't, I would highly encourage you to take a look at some of the videos that we have up for that. It's a pretty dope product. It's going to pull all this logging information. It's going to parse it. It's going to be able to show you all the facts gathered from these devices. It's going to be able to show you all of the changes that happened in your environment. If you're running, say, an enterprise Linux OS and you're managing those devices inside of there, I know that's not network related, but it'll also show you the errata data as well in there for all that stuff, as well as baselining of that, services, and then you can even set up alerts and do reporting and all kinds of stuff like that. So it's a pretty dope product. But as easy as we did all of this, you can also schedule these things to happen. We can also use these in kind of a check mode to look for any configuration drift. That's the word I was looking for. So you can actually see if something changed in your environment and it shouldn't have. If you have any questions or comments about any of this stuff, we would love to help you through your automation journey. We love to support our customers with as much or as little help as you like. So feel free to reach out. And if nothing else, happy automating in your multi-vendor networks. And we'll see you next time. Bye.